Do you like money? Are you convinced that late-stage capitalism doesn't go far enough? Perhaps you wish to run your business with cheap labor. I know I do. That's why today I'm playing as Cuba, the one country which understands human rights is nothing but socialist propaganda. But the real question is, can we establish the perfect society for the rich? Or will the stinking poor finally realize that shaving down government regulation isn't in their best interest? Let's find out. Now we start as a captaincy general with our Captain General Miguel Tacon Irusiqui. Currently, we are a colonial administration, which means 25% of our income goes to our evil colonial overlords in Spain. This makes me feel so bad, I can barely sleep, which means I have to enact racial segregation so I can feel better. Of course, we get brand new journal entries, which will certainly be relevant at some point. In the meantime, we have to befriend France. Hopefully they'll beat up Spain for us. Now of course we have brand new production methods for our plantations. As a farmer myself, I certainly approve. But listen guys, if you've never worked a day in your life and you do not understand the difference between dry process and wet process, that's alright. Because finally the game added the ability to treat your laborers as Amazon workers. Or if you had enough of socialist propaganda, such as workers' rights, now you have the option to commit workers' wrongs, allowing your plantations to be profitable even if their products are sold at a minimum price. Now that's the agricultural update I was looking for. But the best thing this update has to offer is negotiations. That's right, we can actually win the support of different interest groups by committing definitely not corruption, and we can get the support of the military. We just have to add Polish naturalization, which will give 60 more acceptance for the Polish people. Now that's the based racial segregation I'm talking about. We have a new military governor, Captain General Marcelo Tuduri, and the landowners demand a local police force. How about we give them a dedicated police force instead? And now we have a government petition journal, which keeps track of all the promises you made. It's alright guys, this isn't a democracy, I always keep my promises. Discriminate them, unless they're Polish. That's what I always say. It's time for me to keep my promises. Now, as a right-wing enthusiast, I simply have to give a valid dating advice. Now if a girl walks up to you and says something like,
"There is something I have to be honest about, but you gotta promise me that you're not gonna get angry. I'm not gonna tell you otherwise." You have to promise you're not gonna get angry and that you're gonna forgive me, since it's like the only time.
That was very easy guys. Go to your local parliament and fight for women's rights, allowing her to get a job in the local plantation and experience the violent treatment with the children. How dare she talk to you like that? You deserve better, king. Know your worth. And we're making like 1,000 buccarinos in profit from a single plantation. Violence, a classic money-making scheme. Now, with 5% women. We also have a brand new Captain General, Arsenio Valana, who hates the monarchy as much as he hates market liberals. Damn it. But the real question is, can we Brexit our way out of Spain? I mean, it worked for Hungary. We just have to negotiate, which is definitely not corruption. Promise. We can also get the military on board. We just have to give them the Second Amendment, which will give us 5% colony growth speed, 1% mortality rate, 10% training rate, and a small arms obsession for Yankee and Dixie, but not to our culture. That's a bit confusing, but I'll take it. And now we have a presidential republic with guns. God bless Cuba. And now our government is a junta, run by our general, Arsenio Valana. Unfortunately, this didn't Brexit us out of Spain. However, we can finally deregulate the economy. Are we a presidential republic with guns, or what? And we get a brand new event, which gives us the option to be annexed by Spain and give them slave trade. That's pretty funny. But I feel like I'm going to take the increase in liberty desire. Also, I'm going to request a bunch of stuff, like a piece of Santo Domingo. It's a pretty reasonable request, which they refused. Bastards. This makes me want independence to a point which I would kill to get it. Now Spain might seem very powerful, however they only have 9 boats, which will give them serious penalties during their naval invasions. This one will be easy. Now this might look bad, but once we mobilize, we're gonna become Spain's Vietnam, and everyone's gonna make fun of them for generations to come. What? How did they manage to land? Oh no, and just as I thought that our general Arsenio Valana will forever be remembered as the one who earned Cuba its independence, just like George Washington, unfortunately Unfortunately, he shall be remembered as the Cuban Richard Nixon. You know, the peacekeeper who brought peace to Cuba. If the Nobel Peace Prize existed in 1844, Arsenio Valana would have absolutely gotten one. I'm sure of it. Unfortunately, our economic reforms also failed. But that's alright guys, we're gonna get a National Guard, giving me a way to vent my frustrations, which is wife beater politics 101. I can also use this opportunity to give more political strength to the industrialists. That's right, they can now freely deploy the National Guard in order to intimidate their business rivals and arrest their employees. That sounds like a great idea. I mean, can you imagine a corporation like Amazon deploy government forces to raid Home Depot or something? That would be hilarious. Speaking of hilarious hypothetical situations, the United States government is willing to support our independence and give us money. Get it? Support regime change in Latin America? Hilarious. America is attacking Britain so they can take bits of Canada, and Spain is also in on it. I'll help you, United States, just help me get my independence. They refused. Crap. Well, there goes my US government money. Alright, I know exactly why the US refused. Because we are an evil, dirty autocracy. It's time for us to get landed voting. We can also click the prepare for war button, which will certainly come in handy. Also, Spain is getting their asses whooped. This will definitely help. Venezuela is offering to support our independence, and I can also negotiate a bunch of their money, and in exchange, I will never blow up any of their fishing boats in the future. Promise. And America and France managed to beat Britain and Spain. But they're also willing to support our independence. It makes sense, because we are also a gun-wielding presidential republic with slaves and elections. We're practically the same country at this point. But the real question is, who would win? The Liberal Party or the Conservative Party? The Liberal Party managed to win, and we have a brand new president, Mario Valverde. And we can finally liberalize the economy, and we can negotiate with the industrialists. Listen guys, I'm gonna build some heavy industry. Promise. But more importantly, we can negotiate with the Catholic Church. We just have to allow them to commit not corruption. It's not corruption, guys. Promise. Also, we managed to earn our support from the French Republic. I just have to wait for the Americans to deport some Mexicans and move the border. Alright, Spain, like my ex-girlfriend used to say, stop following me. I called my boyfriend. Yeah, she was dating someone else. Women. Am I right, guys? Alright, we deregulated the market, got quite the coalition to support our independence, and I'm pretty sure this is how the Gulf of America looks like. And just look at everyone partying in Spain, except for us. This really reminds me of my high school crush, who never invited me to her parties. Women. Am I right, guys? But unlike my high school crush, Spain will be financially crippled because of us, and not drugs and alcohol. At least I hope she's financially crippled, otherwise I was the loser this whole time. And of course, with Spanish and Venezuelan money, we can certainly sort out our trade, but we definitely need protectionism. We also need a preferential access to the US market. We just have to give 100 tools per week, which I honestly don't have. But you guys know what they say, bombing children's hospitals is actually a good thing, because these missiles cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and the military-industrial complex desperately needs the money. Everything else is socialist propaganda. Promise. It's elections time, and of course we have the brand new feature, ballot stuffing, which I shall be using profusely, so my Russian viewers can feel represented. Speaking of Russians, we can definitely negotiate a trade deal. Unfortunately, there's been some treaty rebalancing, which means we can't get the normal wood guns deal from Russia. And the Liberal Party managed to win the free and fair elections. They were free and fair, guys. Promise. And our president, Mario Valverde, gets 4 more years. Now, as an independent country, we have to set our foreign policy. And I have one thing to say to all the Central American countries.
You're a boy in a man's world. And I'm a man who loves to play with boys.
Remember guys, foreign policy is much like trading policy. It has to be consistent, otherwise it simply doesn't deliver positive results. Also, we shall commit to a comprehensive land reform. El Salvador backs down, but we still have to invade Guatemala. And Nicaragua. Los Altos also backs down. And it's time for us to start pumping out some booze, so we can get one of our unique companies. Also, Italy's a thing. This really puts Germany to shame. I mean they seem to be winning. But I'm definitely definitely willing to work with the Italians. And after our comprehensive land reform, we can renegotiate our deal with the Americans. Oh my god, guys, exciting international deals, the backbone of this channel. Just like the child hospital busters are the backbone of every modern day military. Unfortunately, I seem to have built our booze factory in the wrong province. Whoops. And we got the achievement, Willy Wonka and the Booze Factory. Honestly, one of my favorite adult movie parodies of all time. I mean, the children got smashed, then they had to take them to the children's hospital. Missiles started flying around. It was hilarious. And just look at that fat bonus. Jesus. I'll take it. And it's time for another round of free and fair elections. And the Liberal Party managed to win. 4 more years for Mario Valverde. Damn, how does he do it? Also, I just noticed construction sectors take like a week to finish now. And the mass migration from France, that's how you know the economy is going well. And finally we can get our unique Bacardi company, allowing us to produce rum instead of liquor.
Ancient Incan cave in the color of Barris Islands.
What was in the cave?
Lots of rocks.
Oh.
Huge king cobra that would lure over the top, ready, poised to strike over the top of the 3 drooling lion heads. As I stared in Stagnetti's eyes, 3 million skeletons arose from the pits of hell. As I rode the shark over the bow of the devil's rose with cutlasses clashing, and damned Lucifer back to hell.
They must reward you for saving the world.
Now that's the booze update I was looking for. Also, it seems I went a little bit overzealous with the construction thing. But that's alright, guys. I can sit here and click the pause construction button as many times as it takes. Because having a functioning economy is for losers. Alright, I lowered my construction sectors because cosplaying as the Russian government is really hard. Anyway, it's time for us to enact total separation. I desperately need immigrants. Remember guys, the influx of cheap labor will lower the average worker's bargaining power, allowing us to exploit them more easily. I mean, not discriminating people is based. Yeah. America is attacking Britain and no one wants me to join. But on the bright side, we have Germany. You know, if they click the button. And it's time for even more free and fair elections. Oh my god guys, the Liberal Party is going to win like 99% of the vote. I mean, I guess we still have to count them. 99.5. Damn, I was close. President Mario Valverde, he's just that good. And we got total separation. I did promise elected bureaucrats to the Catholic Church. However, we're a democracy now, which means we can't be tied up with promises or whatever. Instead, we have to focus on crushing poor people's political strength. I mean, I promised poor laws to the industrialists. Yeah. Alright, finally, we need more construction sectors to satisfy the rich. And we should also sponsor some liquor exports. Once we produce the legendary Bacardi rum, they'll be practically begging for it. And just like that, we're the 3rd largest producer. And we have poor laws. Alright, now I've been postponing this one, but there's simply no way for us to avoid it anymore. We absolutely have to remove the Catholic Church from the schools. I mean, come on, the 2nd largest island in Cuba is called the Isle of Youth. This gives me so many Epstein jokes, Catholic Church jokes. It's too much. It has to stop. And I'm determined to keep your children safe, if you pay for it. We're also the 2nd largest producer of groceries. We certainly have to export some. I also love how increasing taxes doesn't actually do anything. Remember kids, all taxation is theft. And children shall no longer be funded by the Catholic Church, they shall now be funded by the rich, which is objectively based. Now I know I've been postponing this one, and the liberals keep winning the elections, so you know it was coming. Our based woke country simply has no room for border controls. I mean, preventing hordes of immigrants to pour through the border and take the lowest paying jobs is blatant government overreach. And all the honest Cuban businessmen are practically slaves to the government. It's unacceptable. And the Catholic Church is rebelling. Damn it. The government has clearly stated it's the rich people's turn on the children, and you should always do what the government says. Finally, freedom of movement. We definitely need freedom of trade. Also, I just noticed Venezuela is still paying me money. Not blowing up their fishing boats was the best economic decision ever made. Legislative failure, what just happened? Oh, I see. The rich elitists made their own political party. And you know what? They have every chance to win in these brand new free and fair elections. I mean, 44% of the vote is no joke. And we have a brand new president, Fidel Poanzo. And we're finally a major power, which means we can create our power block. We are going to get the brand new cultural commonwealth. Unfortunately, we can't be the Free Commerce Committee. We need a cultural and sophisticated name for our faction. Something like the Caribbean United Movement, which will be welcoming to all immigrants. God, I'm desperate. When are we starting to make that Bacardi rum? Anyway, Venezuela is still paying us money. However, we are now a democracy. Not bombing their fishing boats has to stop if we want to keep peace and stability in the region. And it's definitely not an attempt to relate to the modern day news cycle. Promise. Mexico, more like Home Depot. Am I right, guys? Now obviously we have to mobilize every fourth citizen in order to win this war. You guys know what they say. You can take a Bulgarian man out of Bulgaria, but you can't take away the Bulgarian mobilization practices, and the Venezuelan Navy doesn't stand a chance. Thank God it won't be necessary to raise taxes. Hey guys, remember back in the day when the main news storyline was gays or abortions? If we ever go back to that, I'll completely run out of content. So remember guys, it's 2026 and you have to be motivated to take over your country and start passing some ridiculous laws. Or, if that fails, start an international terrorist organization with the most ridiculous of demands, as that will really help inspire the channel. And we managed to spread culturally. Also, we're a great power now. The Germans haven't clicked the button yet, and the Ottomans are doing better than the US. That's quite unexpected. And Russia and China seem to be in a bit of a pickle. And it's time for another round of free and fair elections. Remember guys, the more electoral confidence we lose, the more political power you get through wealth. And the rich people manage to win. Our president Fidel Palazzo gets 4 more years. I mean he has syphilis. Damn those poor children. Who keeps inviting them to the private island parties? But that's alright guys, he'll be fine, because we're going to get the best healthcare system, if you pay for it. The Red Scare? Crap! Queen Victoria lost to the communists. The religious, bureaucratic, land-owning communists. Women. Am I right guys? But I will never let that happen to us. It is time for us to rival these evil, religious, traditionalist socialists. And it's time for us to expand our construction. Just look at that investment pool. Woo! And once we expand our trade centers, nothing can possibly stop us from dominating the world market. Finally, the healthcare our republic with guns desperately needed. I'm sure that combination would never backfire. Remember guys, protectionism is communism. And just look at the private sector booming. They definitely need some subsidies. And we have free trade. Even more elections. God, I wonder who would win. Also, we desperately need colonial exploitation. I mean, we don't have colonies, but what if we get some? We simply have to exploit them. And yet another stunning victory for the rich. It's almost as if they paid for it. Oh crap, we just lost all of our legitimacy because our market liberal landowner died and they're willing to join the Liberal Party on the next elections. That's not good. And now the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right, it is time for us to spread our primary culture. 5% of their pops will immediately convert to Carabino, and we just added another primary culture. Wait, we don't replace it? Well, that's kind of disappointing. I mean, I'm gonna spread it everywhere. It's in the faction name. Remember guys, the best way to increase your legitimacy is to bomb a neighboring country. Bonus points if the targets are civilian. I'm sorry guys, I should probably stop with the bomb civilians joke. It's too much. Can you imagine you're the guy that has to press the button and now everyone calls you a child murderer? And even your mates keep saying stuff like, you're not a real soldier, you just sit in the back pressing buttons, even women can do that. You have to look yourself in the mirror and keep telling yourself stuff like, those kids had it coming and no regrets. But the disrespect is real, because deep down you know, women could never join the military. That would be preposterous. And we can get another company. You know what? I'm going to get the El Generico coffee one. I feel like we strayed away from our economic roots. You know, the slave-run plantations. And finally, we're starting to produce the famous Bacardi rum. And finally convince women to reward us for saving the world. Women! Am I right, guys? And just look at those profits. The world market desperately needs more booze. Granted, our legendary rum-producing company makes insane amount of money by selling pottery. Anyway, let's get to spreading our Carabino culture. What the dickens? Brazil is attacking us. Here I go mobilizing all the Cuban men again. Remember guys, if you get rejected by art school, you will always find your place in the military. The Bacardi company gives gives you more throughput to art galleries, so it feels like a natural expansion. Crap, why is the Netherlands here? This one's gonna be harder than I expected. Also, we have to blow up some Venezuelan boats before we can fully balkanize Brazil. Mexico requests investment rights, that's definitely a new feature. I accept. And look at Ecuador expanding. Very respectable. Alright, and now we just have to defend until the Netherlands leaves. And it's time for elections. What great timing. I just mobilized every Cuban male, which means we have plenty of troops to ensure free and fair elections. And President Fidel Palazzo gets 4 more years. Now the economy might not look all that amazing. However, we finally have enough legitimacy, and soon we shall have colonial exploitation, which will change everything. The Netherlands capitulated. Remember guys, allies in Victoria 3 simply give up after a couple of years, just like real life.
What happens in a few weeks if things sputter? What are you prepared to do?
They keep fighting.
The West is gonna give up any moment now, guys. Promise. It's time for us to start pushing through the Amazon, which is a great idea. I mean, think about it. If you survive this, you can go back to Cuba, drink some rum, and tell all the ladies about your magical adventures. Women just love war stories where you heroically murder people. Women. Am I right, guys? Anyway, we desperately need a tax reform before we go bankrupt. Alright, I'm gonna be the first one to say it. Apparently going through the Amazon was a terrible idea, so we're gonna have to sign a white peace and balkanize Brazil at some other point. Oh, and they just got a rebellion. Hilarious. Alright guys, our economy might look bad. However, there's a simple and easy way to solve all of our financial issues. We simply have to bow down to the mighty Chinese market. Damn it, now what? Alright then, it's time for plan B. Increase taxes. I'm kidding. That will cripple our entire economy. Instead, we're going to stop relying so heavily on machinery and downgrade all of our production methods. This will require a lot more laborers, which we simply don't have, creating a massive opening in the jobs market. Remember guys, immigrants want only one thing, to steal your job. So once there's plenty of jobs, the immigrants simply won't be able to help themselves than to cross the ocean and take the jobs, allowing us to exploit all of them, which is the very backbone of our economy. And of course we have to get in the Chinese market with violence. And the Shandong clique backs down. Oh crap, we need convoys. That's alright guys, I'm an expert at edging bankruptcy. Are we a gun-wielding presidential republic or what? Damn, that was a close one. And yet another undisputed victory for our president Fidel Palazzo. And in order to make sure that we get our tax reform, we're going to give tax cuts for the rich and also increase the taxes for everyone else. Alright, now we can finally build our ports, and our population is certainly growing, and just look at the poor people squirm. Hilarious. But of course, the more important thing is that we have 595,000 slaves. Now that's pretty good. Oh no, Fidel died. Damn those children and their dirty syphilis. But now we have President Juan Duarte, a market liberal. And finally, Jesus Christ, that boat shortage sure cost us a lot of money. But don't worry guys, I'll definitely pay off all of our debt. Promise. And of course we should spread our culture to New Granada and Ecuador. Finally, reserved coffee, the very best in the world. The secret? It's kidnapped children from Africa. But don't tell anyone else. Also, we're going to increase our military spending to 5% of GDP. The Chinese are having a rebellion. My military expansion isn't ready yet. In the meantime, we should definitely get wealth voting. I mean, is this a real democracy if you can't buy votes? Even more elections. Crap, we lost to the Chinese. Yet another victory for President Juan Duarte. And it's time for us to win in China. Crap, we took too long. Unfortunate. But I'll definitely be back. We're going to expand into Shaanxi. Remember guys, China is full of peasants, which means they produce tons of wheat, allowing our food industries to be super profitable. Additionally, the Chinese have served them, so they're practically slaves. Also, we have freedom of movement 3. We are already at 11 million people, but our population growth starts now. And Germany finally clicked the button and expanded quite heavily. Also, we have Hungary now. And of course, I have to lower taxes. I kinda forgot about them. Whoops. Hey, wait a minute. Why is everyone ganking on Germany? They're a pariah. Oh my god, guys, it's literally Hitler. We simply have to prepare a package of serious military aid wait, what? My economy is in tatters. I desperately need the money. I mean, he doesn't wanna take it, but once everyone and their mom embargoes them, they'll simply have no choice. I mean, they're already importing thousands of tobacco, Italy for scale. We certainly have to increase the production. Finally, an election system I can get behind and make sure you voted for the right party. The first proper elections with 90% electoral confidence. Honestly, I feel like this one's gonna be neck and neck. And of course, we simply have to sell our groceries and ammunition to the Americans. Are they fighting to stop Hitler or what? Also, they really want fine arts. So we have to change our economic plan from satisfy the German market to satisfy the American market. Jesus, just look at those money. If we can only automate the process of creating art without having to pay these evil greedy artists, can you imagine the profits? And after these spectacular elections, President Juan Duarte simply has to work with the liberals. If we want a real capitalist paradise, we have to ban slavery. Wait a minute, Germany survived. I mean, they're still a pariah, but I was definitely not expecting them to win. And we're going to get the company principle and start producing even more booze. Yet another world conflict, which no one wants me to join. I'm starting to feel like everyone's ignoring me, kinda like my high school crush. Women! Am I right, guys? And the second Spanish-American War. Hey, wait a minute, I don't want them to get Santo Domingo or Puerto Rico. Ah man, I can't just sit here and watch. I have to reinvade China. I mean, I have a massive navy and army conveniently parked right next to the Shandong clique. Also, we have Turkey now, a parliamentary republic, universal suffrage, slave trading Turkey. Definitely my spirit animal. Remember guys, spending 5% of your GDP to feed the military-industrial complex is objectively based and definitely not Lockheed Martin propaganda. Promise. I guess we now have to take Zhigli. They back down. Now that's a cultural united movement I can get behind. Even more elections. Oh boy, I can feel the electoral confidence slipping away. And of course we have to hold a grand exhibition. We should definitely commission a piece which depicts President Juan Duarte in all of his presidential gun-wielding glory. And of course, it's time for an exciting international deal with the United States, so we can get Panama. New Granada sold it to them, but now it belongs to us, which is perfect, as you're probably already aware. We completely maxed out all of our construction sectors. I mean, just look at that investment pool. Turbo-rich gun-wielding Jesus. Brazil is attacking us. That's an interesting choice, as we no longer have to go through the Amazon. We can just directly invade their capital. And right before we ban slavery, we have almost 700,000, and we can have another company. I guess we can take the unique sugar one, which gives us even more migration attraction. It will also allow us to get Havana sugar, and we get steel construction. Finally, we can start spending some of our investment pool. It's about time. We banned slavery and balkanized Brazil. Now I know what you guys are thinking. In our country, everyone is free, and it is time.
Spread the wealth out, diversify the economy, improve living standards for the working classes.
And you know what? I hear you. That's why we're going to kick out the liberals from the government and enact debt slavery. Because when the stinking poor can't pay off their debt, instead of dragging the entire nation down, they're going to work for free. And when they become rich people property, this will generate immense amounts of wealth. And you guys know me, I want to make the nation wealthier. Now I know what you guys are thinking.
Hang on a second. When you say we want to make the nation wealthier, it seems like you only mean a small handful of billionaire elites.
But remember, we have censorship, and the National Guard is under the direct control of the rich. So you should probably be thinking something like... Even more elections, and it seems that the conservatives have every chance to win. And we completed a great exhibition, which gives us 100 prestige. Wow, definitely worth it. Anyway, it's time for us to take over Santo Domingo and Puerto Rico. They too have Carabino culture, and I'm willing to bomb as many civilians as it takes, so I can have my vengeance against Spain. Austria also joined them, but that's alright guys, I have a foolproof way to force their allies to capitulate immediately. Spain just bombed my mansion. Man, the silence is deafening. I'm pretty sure I painted myself as the good guy here. What is this world coming to? And Nicaragua landed in Austria. Hilarious. It's time for us to destroy as many civilian targets as possible. Relax guys, not a single mansion was hurt during this invasion. And even though I'm planning to occupy Spain, I would never even dream of inconveniencing the rich people who have spent time and money to isolate themselves from the stinking poors. We fight with honor and dignity, unlike these savages, which you can now buy. Now obviously Honestly, the lower classes seem well off and there are zero slaves. However, once we maximize the taxes, I shall achieve my ultimate goal, for I have a dream to own a slave of every color. Am I a woke slave trader or a Ford Model T producer? Get it? Because they were all black? And the liberals have every chance to win the elections, but you know what? I think that's Spanish propaganda. Ignore it. And now we shall start unifying our market, so we can benefit by expanding to South America. And the Free Trade Party managed to win, which means we have a brand new president, Guillermo Vasquez. Now I know what you guys are thinking, but who was the conservative president who enacted slavery? Did I lost the footage? No, of course not. His name is heavily censored because he was in the Epstein files, but I can't say anything more about him. Austria capitulated, which means nothing is stopping us from invading Spain. Also, just look at the slave number go up. Now that's a social safety net I can get behind. Spain can no longer withstand us, and we're also starting to expand in South America. We're finally victorious, and this allows us to finally form the Anti-Land Confederation. Wait, I didn't annex them? We're still just Cuba. Well, that's kind of awkward. Anyway, we definitely have to lower taxes. I mean, we do have 315,000 slaves. I'm sure the number will rise over time, but we must cut taxes so the rich can live even better. Also, we're making so much money we can make an alliance with the Americans. Additionally, we can sign a defensive pact with France for money. And of course we can get Greenland, because we're really cool and everyone loves us. You can't get Greenland with money? That would be absurd. And by passing market unification, we have full control over South American trade. Even Chile is in on it. Now that's the cultural united movement I'm talking about. Now looking at the leaderboard, I'm gonna be honest, this is the best Turkey game of all time. I'm pretty impressed. And of course, it seems that everyone and their mom embargoing Germany didn't help their economy. Who would have guessed? Alright, you guys know what has to be done. We simply must control Canada. I can act surprised, but you guys know it was coming. It's in the video title and everything. Now, as much as I want to fight the British Communists 101, I simply have to invite the Americans, because they're allied to the British, and I much rather them fight for us. Unfortunately, we also have to fight Mexico, because they really want their independence. But still, this is a great opportunity for us to kick out the British from America, once and for all. And our budget is completely devastated. We simply have to raise taxes. God, I hope we don't go bankrupt. That would suck. I mean, we have 481,000 people who have filed for bankruptcy so far. Just like my high school crush, I hope. Remember guys, it is our responsibility to save the world from evil communism by not allowing women to vote, crack down on unions, reject the very notion of minimum wage or age of consent. Also, we must enact laws to protect women from themselves. I mean, think about it. They never text me back. This sort of behavior should be criminal. If we really want to heal society, that's definitely the way to go. The Americans capitulated. Crap. That's alright. We can invade Canada before the British arrive. Also, I just noticed the Communist British Republic is ruled by Republican industrialists. My god, they probably support tariffs. Evil commie bastards, I'll destroy you. Now I was about to say, ho boy, we finally have balloons. The British have no chance, because we took the military industry principle. However, Turkey also declared war on Britain, which means they won't be able to stop us from invading the Caribbean. Well, there you go guys, we managed to defeat communism. We can finally lower taxes. Granted, 805,000 people didn't survive financially, but we managed to achieve our capitalist paradise. Now you might think to yourself, why do we have homesteading instead of commercialized agriculture? Isn't land and real estate assets to be speculated on the stock market? You might have a point, but that would be far too irresponsible. Remember guys, if you want to impress any woman, you have to make sure they understand you're not impressed by their parking job, because all modern cars park by themselves. They're not fooling anyone. Women can't park. Until next time.